Okay, welcome back. We're ready for a great session by Tiffany Tichy. But before we do that, let me remind you that all sessions will be recorded for later viewing. During the presentations, you can post your questions into the chat on your right. Make sure to participate in the STEM Summit Challenge to win prizes. It's on the top left corner at the reception page, and the winners will be announced during the closing ceremony. Uh, Join us to the continued STEM Summit conversation on our collaborative and Facebook communities. Your ideas, your comments and suggestions are really valuable, and let's create a community and engage and vibrating community. And make sure to download your participation certificate and badge. It's at the resources section. And of course, donate, donate, donate. We need your support in order to create more resources, lesson plans, and activities that will be provided for free to educators and everyone who wants to conduct STEM outreach activities. Donate to the IEEE Foundation, the IEEE Tri-Engineering Fund of the IEEE Foundation that constantly support us. Okay, the keynote presentations that we were all waiting for, unleashing the power of persistence, nurturing an engineering mindset for success, by Tiffany Tichy. Let me go through her bio, which is huge. I'll read it for you. As I did at the previous session, Tiffany Tichy is a senior mechanical engineer, science, technology, engineering, and math advocate, TEDx international speaker, and international best-selling author of the children's book What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z, the STEM Crew Kids Adventure series, and 3 transformative books on women's empowerment and entrepreneurship. She is the host of the Read It Right radio show on WDRMB Media. Tiffany is the owner of Thrive Edge Publishing and the owner publishing consultants of Inspired Authors Publishing. She helps underrepresented industry and business leaders publish children's books about their fields to inspire children to choose the same path. Tiffany holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering, as well as a Master degree of Science in Engineering Management, both from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. She's a Leadership Studies PhD student at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. As an engineer with 19 years of experience, Tiffany is very interested in getting young people interested in STEM careers. She was born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and enjoys traveling and being a youth mentor. So I would like to invite Tiffany to the stage. Welcome, Tiffany. The stage is yours.
All right, so I'm going to switch over so I can share. So if you switch over, I'll be able to turn. There you go. So I'm excited. Thank you for my great introduction. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's like, it's a lot, but I've been able to tackle a lot throughout my lifetime. You saw 19 years in the industry itself. So hopefully, you know, you can get some takeaways from the experience I've had. And so today we're going to talk about unleashing the power of persistence, nurturing an engineering mindset for success. So I'm excited just to share with many of y'all that are representing maybe as engineers, as well as doing some outreach that I'm very passionate about, as well as how we can go about having this engineering mindset, despite all that we go through as engineers, be able to share with you, you know, how you can persist in this process as well as being able to do that. Um, so today, we're just going to give a good overview. I do want to make sure I'm interactive. So if I'll check some of the chat and see if y'all have any questions and stuff too. We'll probably do questions at the end, but I'm open to looking throughout as we talk about this experience of being able to unleash this power of persistence. So we'll give an introduction. I'll introduce you, and some of it's already been introduced, but I know hearing it from me is great. And then we'll talk about the session overview as well as I'm going to tell you the role of persistence in achieving success. And in cultivating an engineering mindset, how do we go about doing that? And then I'll go with overcoming obstacles and building resilience. This is a part of life. We all go through something. So I'm going to talk about that piece of it. And then developing a problem solving mindset. How do we go about problem solving? Because really, in engineering, that's what we do from day to day. We have some problem and how we're solving it. And so developing a problem solving mindset plays a role with it. Then we're going to talk about some strategies and tools for success. And so hopefully, all that we've talked about from obstacles and being able to be resilient, try to give you some strategies and tools to how you can go about being for success. And then I'll be remiss if I don't share how we can make sure, despite all the engineering we might be doing, all the things we aspire to be, that we are inspiring the next generation of engineers. I'll be remiss if I didn't share that because that is my passion. We got to be able to pass it on for others and be able to pave the way for them. And so you'll be able to see the work that I've done, that I continue to do, and how I want to make sure that you're doing it too. Even with the process of being an engineer, having the mindset, we got to make sure that we bring others, our next generation to it. And then we'll follow up with some conclusions and then any Q&A. But like I said, I'll be checking in the chat to see if there's any questions that or comments that you might have. Now, just to give you an introduction of me, as it's been stated, I actually have University of North Carolina, Charlotte, my Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering. So I know, double E's. I give you props for that as well. But thank you for having me just representing engineering in general. We've all gone through some journey through the process or are going through the journey through the process when it comes to becoming an engineer. And so also I continued on with my undergrad and decided, okay, let me go on straight through. And so I got my master's in engineering management. So I got them both from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. So, you have different paths. You can decide to go work right afterwards, or you can decide to go straight to grad school. And so I decided to go on straight to grad school, did internships throughout all of that time frame, learn what I wanted to do, learn what I didn't want to do. And so that was important as far as the journey. So now I'm actually a PhD student. I thought I'd be done, but I am actually getting my PhD at North Carolina A&T State University, and it's online, distance learning. So I'm working full-time as an engineer and then as a student. Now, I forgot to put on here. So I have been working, but I am a senior mechanical engineer. I work, been 19 years in the industry. And so I'm in the energy industry itself. And so I've been in it for the whole time frame. When I said I was in grad school, it was that last intern that I was doing while grad school that they brought me on full time. And so I've been working full time in the energy industry. So I've dealt with building with mechanical. I've dealt with different types of equipment from construction design to procurement of ordering equipment and everything too. So that has been what I've been tied to it. So I love how mentioned so much of engineering is interdisciplinary. Now we're happy to have you as an Emmy. Thank you for welcoming me in. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I took my mechanical engineering, I had to actually take both civil and electrical. That breadboard, as far as that class, kudos to you. And so, it is interdisciplinary. And that's why we all work together. When I go into the job, we all work together as a team. And that's a part of it that plays a role with it. So I definitely lean on my electricals. I lean on my civil structurals as well. So and that's a part of this. When I get into this whole having the engineer mindset, you got to be able to be flexible and work with others. And I think that's the part of it when we talk about being persistent. So as you can see, also, I have been a Forbes Business Council speaker. I've been on TEDx speaker, as well as NBC, Fox, and CBS. I'm also, and with those, definitely talking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. My passion is with that. And so you'll see these various books. So I am a STEM children's book author. I decided to write books because a lot of times, and many of y'all know about it if you've had to be called to go to the schools and talk to the kids. And it was that moment where when I would go into the classroom, I'll talk to the kids and I say, how many's met an engineer? And not that many hands goes up. And many, once you do the hands-on, show them how engineering's fun, I ask them again, how many's met an engineer? And now all hands should go up. And so it was that moment where I realized, okay, STEM representation matters. We've got to get these into these books. And so from there, 2019, I decided to write my first book, which is an alphabet book, What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z. And then it's generated from there to become color and activity book, to translate it. I'm missing one on there because I actually got another one translated this year because I was going to Italy. And so I have translated in Spanish, French, Swahili, as well as Italian. And then I have it as a teacher's guide and a journal. And now I have a series, STEM Crew Kids Adventures series, building a balloon powered car. And the next one's coming up within a month. So this is my journey. I'm an engineer, but I got the creative side of being able to get some books out there for kids to be able to grow. And when we get back to that whole building our next generation, that is what I'm passionate about. And you'll see that with the work that I do. So someone asked the question, what does success mean in the context of engineering career? And how can aspiring engineers set their own definitions of success? All right, so we're going to tap into that. So hopefully I can answer that question when we get into defining success, defining, what really is being able to persevere despite obstacles to build that success. So I definitely make sure I cover that piece of it. So thank you for that question. So the session overview, just to give an overview, we're really going to just delve into the vital role of persistence and cultivating an engineer mindset in achieving remarkable success. And this is where we go into that whole defining the success piece that we're going to make sure we tackle. But we first got to see, okay, what is it that we're going through where we need to be able to cultivate that mindset or be persistent to then generate that success that we're talking about. So let's talk first about the role of persistence in achieving success. I went and looked for the definition of what persistence is, and it meant firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. So in some fashion, all of us have probably gone through something. Even if you think it's small or big, we've all gone through something. And so with those, it might be in spite of difficulty or opposition, something that's against you. We know that persistence had to play a role with it. Persistence drives personal and professional growth. And so as you see, I am a female in a male-dominated field. And so I kind of knew what I was getting into. And I just tell you a little story of why I decided I wanted to go into engineering. And there are probably others out there that probably, wanted to become one, or maybe thought initially not one. I actually wanted to be a lawyer, y'all. I wanted to be a lawyer. I thought I could debate, but I was that curious girl in school, asking questions, and especially in math class. And of course, it was the boys, and then it's the girls, but I was that one in the front. And maybe at the beginning, I probably couldn't see because eventually I had to get glasses. But regardless, I was that one curious. That was the one curious, asking those questions, making sure that I understood. And so my mom and my dad had my brother and I in a math and science Saturday academy. So we had to go into, and that's what made me decide problem solving. That's why I decided, okay, engineering can play a role with it. And so that's what made me decide, okay, I want to go into engineering. So I knew kind of what I was walking into. I wanted to be challenged. And so you have those opportunities where you might be challenged while being in this engineering role itself. And so despite difficulties or oppositions, I'll tell you, I've walked into a room, a male-dominated room, and the vendor, the one who we are purchasing their equipment, shook hands with everybody except for me. So despite all obstacles that might occur, I still acknowledge and say, hey, my name is Tiffany Teachy. I'm the responsible engineer in the room. And basically we're going to decide if we're going to use the part. And so there's circumstances where things might come against you, some stuff might happen, but you still have to know your worth, know I'm just as capable and competent to be in the room. And I think that's the mindset of making sure you know your worth. And that is where I show the whole persistence, in knowing my worth and knowing despite all obstacles. Um, and it comes from the personal as well as the professional growth that comes with it, when it comes to having that mindset. So when we think of some different, examples of engineers, and we talk about success is a definition of where for each individual themselves, you have to define it for yourself. Um, it could be big, it could be small. A win is a win. I say that all the time. In life, people try to compare, and don't compare yourself to others. And I think that's the biggest part when we talk about the whole success part of things. It really comes down to what you think is success from the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And if it's a win, it's a win. And that's the thing I remind myself of, and you should remind yourself of as well. But let's name some successful engineers, so you say, and things that may be discriminated as far as dealt with. And if you know of some engineers that's persevered, I wouldn't mind you just typing it in the chat if you could think of some names of some. But I'm gonna name some that we probably have heard of already, in life, and maybe think about how they've persevered. So when I think of some, of course, we can talk about Albert Einstein. You know, he dealt with life and everything, but he came up with different things of how to be able to be creative, despite what obstacles might come through that experience. So Albert Einstein comes to mind, his scientific side of things, and that plays a role with it. We can talk about Thomas Edison. We can talk about how he dealt with the uncompromised to a fault. How many times do you think they had to deal with before he got to the point where he was able to create the invention that he had? Helen Keller. Let's talk about her. You know, we can talk about the being common with the deaf and blind children, those that's dealt with these type of things, obstacles. But despite that, she transformed and was determined to make things happen. And so, but despite any obstacles, let's talk about Walt Disney. um, with him, he definitely had different things that he wanted to accomplish. um, and so who would have thought so many years later, he was able to come up with Disney World. So we can just think of various ones that's overcome obstacles, um, and those are things to think about, when you think about it. And there's probably someone in your life that's dealt with it, overcome obstacles, but they stay persistent. So just thinking about those. Okay, Stephen Hawkins. Okay, so that's an example of somebody who's overcome. If there's some other ones that comes to mind that you might know of that might be that's maybe dealt with things, that's definitely something to consider. What did they do? Nikola Tesla. Okay, that's definitely a good one. And so thinking about what did they overcome, but what did they do to get where they are today, and what they did and what impact did they make? They stayed persistent. And so that's something we have to make sure that we maintain to think about. It's part is being able to know others have done it, but you probably could do it too. You just have to change your mindset with it. So when we talk about cultivating an engineering mindset, here are 3 essential properties of an engineering mindset. The ability to see a structure, see something where there's nothing apparent. Maybe you don't see anything, but maybe people might not see what you might see, but you still persist and can be able to tackle it, and something to think about. Um, Adeptness to designing under constraints. So you might have some challenges that might happen. There's some constraints that we get as far as engineers, um, working. You always have something that might come up. You always might have to have some modification. So how do you cultivate that engineer mindset? That's something to think about. And you have to understand trade-offs. What is it costing to do one thing versus the other? And when we deal with engineering, you never know what might pop up. one thing might happen one day, and then the next day something else comes up. But how do you cultivate that engineering mindset? And so those are something to think about when it comes to understanding trade-offs. What is it costing to do one change that might happen or modification? And if you might have some constraints to deal with, those are things to think about when it comes to having that engineer mindset. Okay, so now let's transition to the whole overcoming obstacles and building resilience. There are some common obstacles faced by engineers, and this is just a few of them. There are so many more. Skills shortage. Let's talk about knowledge transfer. Let's talk about the needs for more to get into these workforces, especially in these STEM fields and these engineering fields. And this will go back to the whole new next generation. We got to make sure we pull them up. But skills, as far as shortage, increase complexity of engineering projects, increasing them, as well as rising cost of materials and labor. You know, supply and demand is something else. So these are some of the obstacles, where we have to deal with, especially with engineering. The pace of technology change, technology change. I mean, we can talk about AI. Where did that come from? Out of nowhere. But the thing is, how do we adjust to change? And we have to be able to adapt and be able to be flexible and to understand that these are some of the obstacles with the pace of technology. Another thing is a need for collaboration. You got to be able to collaborate. You got to be able to work together. Partnerships is important. Being able to work together is key when it comes to overcoming obstacles, being resilient. Effective communication, that is key. We talk about that all the time when it comes to being able to be an engineer. I talk to the kids when I tell them, I say, okay, yes, you have math and science, but you got to have English and writing. You got to have the presentation skills. You got to be able to communicate. And so effective communication is always important to think about when it comes to overcome obstacles and being resilient. And so there's so many more on the list, but this is just a few of them that are common obstacles faced, especially by engineers, that we have to think about. So how do we overcome them? To overcome these challenges, engineers can use various strategies. It can include planning. Having a plan is important. Effective planning is essential for any engineering project. Any engineering project we have, you got to have a plan. Without a plan, where you'd be lost. And so that is one way to overcome these challenges. Another strategy is collaboration. I'll go back to that collaboration. Collaboration is crucial to successful engineering projects. We got to make sure that we are doing the collaboration, working together. I told you have to work as a team. So just like I'm mechanical, you got other departments you got to be able to work with, of course, my disciplines, multidiscipline, as well as with other departments you're going to work with when it comes to being in engineering. And then continuous learning. The field of engineering is constantly evolving, and engineers must stay up to date with these trends, and with these latest developments be able to be competitive. If you still stick to what's in the past, you're going to be left behind. And so definitely think about it when it comes to overcoming obstacles and building resiliency. You got to be able to make sure you are staying up to speed. What is the latest things that's happening? And so continuous learning is definitely one of the things to think about when it comes to the next level of making sure you're staying on top of things and overcoming obstacles and building resilience. Okay, so let me give you some techniques to build resilience in the face of challenges and be able to cope with these adversities. Some examples of the resiliency techniques can include finding purpose and meaning in life. A lot of times I have to remind myself, I go back to my why. Why do I do the things that I do? Why did I decide to be in engineering? Why is this what I want to do? I go back to it because I want to make sure I'm making an impact. With me, I'm passionate about STEM representation. And so I go back to my why. I'm paving the path for others to be able to be in this seat. And the quote that I love is from Shirley Chisholm: "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." And so I'm all about making sure I help others, and I'm serving in the world that I am. And so believing in yourself and your abilities, developing a social network of support, who you surrounding yourself with. Positivity is important. Influence is important. So circle of influence is key when it comes to building that resiliency. Embracing change and learning from it. That's something to definitely make sure that you adjust to. Didn't I mention as far as the technology changes? So make sure that you're embracing it. Being optimistic and hopeful. I mean, the thing is, yeah, being pessimistic is not the way to go. Try to be optimistic. Think about positive things that are going to occur despite the changes. And then nurturing yourself and your well being. I don't call it work life balance, y'all. I call it work life harmony or work life integration. And it changes the mindset because I'm all about peace of mind. Peace of mind over anything. I think is important. And so definitely nurturing yourself, your well being, and then developing that problem solving and coping skills. How do you deal with when things happen, when things change, when you got to be able to solve problems. And so these are just some of the things to think about when it comes to being able to be resilient. These are some techniques that definitely are good to think about. Um, One of the quotes on here from Maya Angelou is, if we have someone who loves us, I don't mean indulges us, then it's easier to grow resilience. And so you do have to be mindset of knowing who you surround yourself with, who's building you up in that manner. So yeah, thank you so much for saying work-life integration. You like that? Yeah, it changes the whole mindset because everybody's all about work-life balance, work-life integration, work-life harmony. It changes the whole mindset of it. So those are things to think about. Definitely when you're trying to deal with resiliency. Okay, so that is what I would say as far as techniques to build resiliency in the face of challenges. Now, let's talk about that problem solving mindset. Okay, we're doing this engineering mindset, but problem solving mindset. There's some methodologies and approaches that definitely could be considered. You got to know the problem. So when this problem comes to you, what are you thinking about when it comes to it? So there's some steps to solving the model. So know the problem. Consider opinions, facts, and opportunities. Everybody's got an opinion, but you got to make sure it's a fact. I'll tell you what engineering, what's that saying? Trust but verify. I don't know if that's ingrained in us when we go to school or something, but for some reason, a lot of us engineers, we stick to that. So yes, know the facts, know the opinions, and know the opportunities. See every situation from a different angle. So you got to have different perspectives when it comes to that problem solving. You can't be just thinking one way. There's probably some other ways to think about it. Find the root cause of the problem. What is some problems, and maybe think about it. What is the root cause of that problem? And then next up is keep alternative solutions. So when you're thinking about other ways and different things, think about alternative solutions. Keeping the best solution at the top of your list. So after you define all the different types of solutions, the alternatives, what is the best solution that you might think will work for everyone? I think that's the biggest thing to think about. What is going to probably be the path, critical path that maybe can get us to that point, and then take the time to take a decision. So you've made that decision. I think that's important, and then assign a responsibility. It's all about when you take action, you got to have somebody be responsible for it, and then set a scale for evaluating results. So full circle, you now have to have some results and some outputs. So these are different ways to have that problem solving mindset to think about. So as noted in the chat, know the difference between facts and opinions. Sometimes opinions are harder to deal with than actual facts. Ooh, that is good. Go Constance. Yeah, so that's the thing to think about. You got all these opinions and stuff, but it is tough to deal with it. But you do need to know what the facts are and try to decipher accordingly. And so that's just one way to think about it when we're talking about problem solving methodologies and approaches. All right, I hope y'all hanging in there. Hope you're taking some notes. Okay, so let's give you some strategies and some tools for success. We can speak to personal, but you also can tie this with your professional as well as we talk about it, development. Self-awareness. This goes back to what is it, even from a personal to professional, what is it that you need to be aware of? What is some self-awareness? What is some self-knowledge? Your identity. Is there any talents? We go back to the whole skills. What skills do you have? What potential do you have? Human capital. Um, and then quality of life, your dreams and your aspirations. And you can do that same thing with your professional development as well. And so you have to keep that in mind when it comes to the different strategies and tools for success. And like I said, you define your success. Don't let anybody else try to tell you what you should do and define you. You know you better than yourself. And we go back to that whole self-awareness. You know what you stand for. You know your values. You know what you stand for. And so you define your success. A win is a win. Small or big. So I'm gonna go back to that when we talk about these strategies. But a lot of this is, I don't know if many of y'all believe in like doing vision boards, but I'm gonna tell you, it works. Like who would have thought I'd be doing a TEDx talk in South Africa, the University of South Africa. And I had actually on my vision board, I wanted to speak, I wanted to travel to Africa, and I wanted to do a TEDx. I wanted to do Forbes. Who would have thought I'd be doing Forbes? Um, the sky's the limit on what you can do. And so I think that's the biggest piece is what's your self-awareness? What's the self-knowledge? What do you know you are capable of? What the things you might need to polish up on? And so that plays a role with it from the personal as well as the self-development and professional development. Okay. Now, as I guided you into what I like to do, I want to make sure that you inspire the next generation. So we take all this that we just talked about. We take all this that we're talking about resilience. We've gone through the obstacles. We've gone through overcoming obstacles. I've given you some strategies and some steps. But what is it that you need to make sure that you're doing? Yes, make sure that you are taking it to the next level of helping our next generation of engineers. As you can see, I have been able to do that. I've been able to travel. Um, I've been able to go to, as you can see in the middle, I was in Ghana. And so I was able to talk to the kids, share about the importance of engineering, show them that, you know, the importance of STEM. And so and then the other one, you'll see Girl Scouts. I'm going to try to see and let them know that they can be anything they put their mind to. It's been amazing to be able to represent as an engineer, as well as being able to do the talks. Like I said, I was able to go to South Africa, Botswana, and then this year I was in Italy. And so taking the travel, but also making sure that I'm making an impact has been amazing. And so I want to make sure that you know that there's importance of being able to inspire our next generation. And if we don't do that, shame on you. But because someone else paved the way for you and you're paving the way for others. So it would be great if you could think about it. I know I see some laughter in there, but yeah. Somebody else needs to hear your story. All of us have a story to tell. And so we need to make sure that we get our message out there. If you're going from day to day doing this engineering, make sure that you are taking it in, taking it all in. You go day to day, working. If you're planning to become an engineer, some of y'all might not be engineers yet, or in the making. Think about it. What impact are you going to make when you become that engineer? What impact are you making for others? Because people are watching. And I know that now more than ever. And so to see the journey I've had from being a part of making a difference with the engineering has been amazing. And so I hope that you've been able to take on some different things to think about when it comes to, unleashing that power of persistence. And so when it comes to having that power of persistence, we go back to the resilience. We go back to making sure that we reevaluate what are we doing, the problem solving mindsets of it. I think it's important. And just things to think about is important. So I would definitely like to know, as far as I know I've done a lot of talking, but I'd be interested to see in the chat, if you could, what what impact have you made when it comes to um, this next generation? Let's talk about that since I got this slide up. Has any of y'all made an impact? Because I also want to talk about the outreach side of things as well as we're unleashing the power. Are there any activities you've done with kids to make sure that they're learning about the engineering side of things? I would love to see in the chat if there was any, have you done any activities, any particular activities, or to show that you are engineering or interested in engineering? And if you have, that'd be great to see the activities you've done, as well as if there's any opportunities to think. Just to tell you my journey of when I became the engineer, and I told you about my story of overcoming it. I actually have dealt with being laid off, but I never would have thought, you never know what life would like bring you. But it was one of those moments where the recruiter said, "You have what it takes, but you keep staying complacent with where you are." It was that moment where I decided, okay, I'm going to have to stop staying where I am, trying to think this is the place I'm going to be, and I end up having to go relocate. Um, and I actually got my job back. Just had to relocate. And so when you talk about having the resiliency, it was an experience, y'all. Being laid off was an experience. But who would have thought I'd be in a different place? I hadn't written my book yet, you guys. It wasn't until I got to my new space where the opportunity happened. And so being complacent, staying where we are, those are things to think about. What is it that you could be doing to make a difference? And life happens. I had lost my father in the journey. I got to see him up to 25 years old, but I accomplished a lot. Um, got in the house, the job, the car, and all of that. But life happens. But it was one of those moments where I knew I was going to live my life like it's golden. That's my motto. And so with the job that I've done, I've traveled with the work assignments, and that might happen with the work that you do. And how do you adjust when it comes to being resilient? And those are things to think about. I traveled, and while I was out in California for one of the plants for a year and a half, who would have thought? I was living it. I was skydiving, surfing. But those are things to think about when you're talking about being resilient, despite what area, environment you're in. How are you overcoming those obstacles? And those are things to think about. So definitely in the chat, I see here, how does students be encouraged to become next generation engineering, as we can only motivate or guide them, but how could we make up their aptitude and attitude towards engineering? Great question. I mean, the thing is, that goes to the whole representation matters piece of it. They've got to be able to see the engineers. They got to see us as an engineering. Um, the thing is, I talk about when I say this new generation, it's about access, opportunity, knowledge, as well as exposure. If we can get our kids to see those four things, that's going to help with that. I tell the parents, I tell them all the time, make sure that you are maybe doing job shadowing, the hands-on. If you can get them early, I think that's the key thing to it as well. I think early exposure to them, getting the activities, getting job shadowing. They can go, if there's a different career, they can go sit for a day, see what they're doing. I know they have the whole take your child to work day. And so those are some things that are definitely things to consider when we're trying to build them. So we want to make sure that we motivate and guide them. There's mentoring, another thing, being able to mentor, be a mentor. Not only just be a mentor, but are you being mentored? When we talk about the resiliency, when we talk about persevering, make sure you have a mentor as well as sponsors. I can be remiss if I don't share the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. A mentor is one who can advise you. They can give you guidance. But if you can get a sponsor, that's somebody in the room who can vouch for you, someone who can speak in that room with leadership, or in that room can say, hey, Tiffany can do it. She's just as competent and able to do that particular project or that work. So having a mentor is good. Having a sponsor is good, a coach. And so I had to make sure I'm reminding you of that is important when it comes to being resilient and overcoming obstacles. If you have that, that's where I said you make sure you're surrounded by influence and positivity as well. And so let's see here. Looking in the chat, there's also, okay. So Ebenezer says, we conduct education outreaches for young children cutting across AI, IoT, basic biomedical engineering using stem cell and microcontrollers. Okay, you're using some fancy stuff, fast coding technology, infoscope. So you're using different things to make sure these outreach. I love it. And so Region 4 has a grant program that enables public libraries to create circulating science kits collections, allowing kids to check out kits, just like a book. Ooh, that's awesome. So that's one way, definitely. So I love how y'all are doing the coding and you're doing the whole kits. These are some great skills. So when we ask the question of what can we do to make sure we're motivating, y'all are already on the right track to take sure. High school, grades 9 and right age to inspire. I agree. Across the board, any of these ages, we got to get them exposed to them. So more like exposure to smart, functional, fab lab, nitty gritties to spur innovative and design thinking. Okay, Ebenezer, you own it. It is great that children see your face as engineer and author, girls and underrepresented groups in STEM. Thank you, Tracy. And then also, I'll be remiss. A. Gerver said, love the attitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so looking in the chat, just making sure I get everything. Volunteering. Okay, so Taylor says, volunteering in the K through 5 classrooms around the school districts, reading to the kids, performing a teardown of an electric scooter for students, building water bottle rockets and rocket launchers, serving on PTO, PTA to bring in STEM programs. Wow, y'all are bringing some great. I hope everybody's taking notes. Just taking notes because I'm gonna need this. Yeah, this chat is y'all are on it. Thanks so much, Deborah and Angelique. Thank you for saying I'm inspiring. I appreciate it. I hope y'all are taking some notes. I hope I've been able to inspire you. And y'all are some phenomenal, a phenomenal audience because the stuff that y'all are putting in this chat that y'all are doing and the impact that you're making, know that that's helping with your whole power of persistence. My kids seeing that, I think that is key. Constance says there are in and out of school programs which are skewed more to science than engineering. Bringing problem solving participatory tasks to students can be more important than the presentations. I agree. Making sure we do these hands-on activities. But yes, because we talk about the engineering design process, this goes to the mindset, the problem solving. These are some things that when you say leaning, skewing more towards science than engineering, we can go ahead into the engineering design process if we really want to talk about trying to get our kids into it and understanding it. Just Google STEM activities and your location. If you do not know of any activities, it gives you a starting place to get involved. Agree. Google it. I love it. And then Deborah says, have you had more success supporting programs in school or in after school programs? It's a combination. In school, I've gone and come in and did the talks because you got them all in there. It's just about the numbers, and it depends on the programs as well when it comes to the after school programs for the kids. So it varies, but either way, the impact that you're making, I think, is ultimately the part that's needed with it. So yeah, great question, Deborah. All right. So I know I'm winding down on the end of things. Tell me if you have any questions on what I've talked about. I hope it's been very helpful. But I definitely want to make sure that you get in touch with me. I am on LinkedIn. You can go to linkedin.com and find me. Remember, my name's Tiffany with an I. And then also, if you want to learn more about, the various books and everything that I have, you can go to www.tiffanyteachy.com. Now, I do have free STEM gifts for those that maybe if you have some kids that you might know of. I have a free ebook. It's called 10 STEM Scholarships and Organizations. And I've done some researches of those, trying to get our kids exposed and some scholarships. So when you said that 9 to 12-year-olds, yes. But we can always start early because my goal is to make sure that we expose them early on. So STEMistheway.com, www.stemistheway.com, if you definitely want to connect from that end. And so as you've seen today, I am passionate to make sure that, despite all obstacles, everything we go through, especially as an engineer, that we are still making an impact. I go back to the whole Shirley Chisholm. She's like my hero. She has another quote. Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living here on earth. So I want to be known for making sure that I'm serving. And so hopefully today I've been able to serve and making sure that you know that you have the power to unleash the persistence and nurture it and overcome it, especially with the engineer mindset. And so that's the biggest part that I want to take away, that you see that I love representing as an engineer. I love representing as a speaker and an author, to try to encourage others to see themselves in it. And if you want to consider writing your own book, children's book, you can always ping me, because I can always help you turn your career into a children's book, just like I did. I said, okay, let's put this in writing. And so I think many of y'all out there could probably do the same thing as well. But this is what it is as far as what I wanted to share with you. So I will open it up for any questions. I know I've gone through some of the chats. Um, so let's see, looking in the chat. So Christine says, love the support of starting exposure for students early. Constance says, many engineers are billed by hour and have to do outreach of evenings and weekends. Agree. Scientists are more visible because they rely on grants, and participating in activities is seen as helping to get grants. Engineers make a difference in a different way. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we do have to do it as far as, because during the day we're doing what we do, but it is, like you said, the whole after school programs, all of that can play a role with doing some activities, as well as the weekends we always get asked to do for opportunities. Um, okay. Oh, thank you so much. um, So the students, Sierra Banner said, you have a very positive and impressive attitude. I like this. Oh, I appreciate it. How could I find activities for an experiment? Well, like I said, you can always ping me. Um, you can definitely go to www.stemisttheway.com. If you go through there, grab that ebook on organizations. That's one way I've looked up for opportunities. Of course, IEEE, definitely. That's I know the organization has got stuff that you can also do some activities with. But go to www.stemisttheway.com. Hit me up, as well as I can help you with others. But I have researched some organizations that you can do those different activities with. So definitely check that out. Thanks for putting that in the chat. Sometimes difficulties are faced, and this is Dora, in convincing parents let their kids to do STEM activities, mainly girls. Do you have the magic combination on how to convince them that engineering is for everyone? I don't know if I have the magic combination. We can go back to that www.stemisttheway.com. I'm gonna keep putting that out there, because that's one tool where if we can get our parents to see the opportunities of different ones, lay out organizations such as IEEE, and convince them. Like I said, my mom was an educator, my dad was an entrepreneur. By the help, my brother's a civil engineer. Neither one of them were engineers. We didn't have parents who were engineers, but we were a part of a math and science Saturday academy. So on those weekends, we participated in math and science programs. There's robotics programs. If we convince our parents that they don't have to be all knowledgeable of it, they can take it day by day. Get a robot. Go order robots. And start having kids, because a lot of times these kids start off early asking questions. My brother, let me tell you, he had, I don't know if many of y'all remember Teddy Ruxpin, but he tore a bear up, a hole in it, and put a radio in it. So when you talk about our kids, like future engineer, um, which he became a civil engineer, but he loved to do drawings and different video games and stuff. But think about these kids. If we can convince our and have representation, get these girls around other engineers like myself and other engineers that y'all are out here, that's really going to be a great way to have them know that they can do it. That's where that whole representation. Get books, get STEM books, get some books, and if we can get some more representation of showing them the different books, there's so many out here. There's now an opportunity for them to see that girls can do it too. So hopefully that helps in that question. Thanks, Ashley. Look forward to sharing my books. I appreciate it. And then as far as I would like to encourage participants, Taylor says, today to explore mentoring and sponsorship opportunities with teens in foster care. Oh, that's a good one. If you're in Houston or Los Angeles, kidsave.org is a great resource for connecting with students in this community. All right. And of course, we got our try lessons/plans. I love it. That's a great resource. I knew IEEE. I knew y'all had some resources. So Lewis, thank you so much. Glad I could inspire. Let me see what else is in the chat. I appreciate y'all. And let's see. Raj says in Western University, ERTW is the vanity plate. Engineers rule the world. Yes, yes. And so that's why we got to try to convince our parents, continue the educators, that engineering is the way. That's why, or like I said, STEM is the way. um, .com. So hopefully, I know I've did mostly of trying to encourage the next generation, but that's you. I've already told you how you could be resilient. Take what you have and pass it on. And I've given you the tools, and I hope today you've been able to take some of these notes, and I've inspired and encouraged you, because it's a daily task. Every day I go in and it's a different challenge. As you can see, I'm smiling. um, and perseverance and resilience is it. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't maintain that, and I hope you're able to as well. And so I think I've taken a majority of time. Let's see, is there any other questions in general? So let's see. Constance says, remember, many of your detractors see life as a zero-sum game, and your success takes from their success. In reality, success is an ever-expanding universe. Okay, so that goes back to that question of success. Goes back to success. You define your success. Don't let anybody else tell you your success. You have goals, and I think that's the biggest piece. So definitely, if you want to get back in touch with me, I am available on LinkedIn, Tiffany with I teach you. And then of course you can check out my website, tiffanyteachy.com, if you want to check out some of the books and the things I've done. And of course I have that free resource, www.stemisttheway.com. And so those are ways to get in touch with me. And as well as if you want to write a book, I got you too. I have a publishing agency, Inspired Authors Publishing, that I can help you get going on that as well. So hopefully you've been able to unleash that power. And so thank you so much for listening in, and taking notes. This chat, y'all have been amazing, and very interactive. So the sky's the limit. And that's what I write in my books when I sign the books for the kids. If you believe it, then you can achieve it. And we can do that too and continue to believe that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn it back over. So thank you so much for IEEE Try Engineering for this opportunity. I'm thankful to be able to speak.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for this amazing presentation. The way I perceive it, it's a twofold. You don't only teach us how to, talk to the kids and inspire them, but also how to be persistent in our efforts to inspire them. So even if, because there are so many volunteers in our audience, even if you sometimes get disappointed that your message doesn't go through, and you be persistent. What we're doing is literally a noble cause to bring students into engineering. So thank you for pointing out this. It was excellent, super inspiring, and
Thank
I've
you.
got to tell you that the way your communication skills are out of this world.
Thank
As
you.
a non-native English speaker, I will try to imitate the way
Love
you
it.
present it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty then. Let's move on to with our program. What's next? What's next? Let me find the slides. um, we're gonna have a very short break, and then we will have a panel. I hope you will learn what Tiffany told us, and listen to what the panelists have to say, and find a way to use that kind of knowledge within your STEM outreach activities. Um, the, I would, uh, all of us in Pre-University Education Coordination Committee would like to see that enthusiasm that Tiffany showed us to you all, to be so enthusiastic about your activities. And these people in the next panel are really very have done great things, and you will see their positive energy broadcasting in the panel. So we will have a break and meet you again in 15 minutes. Thank you so much.